Well, 2024 is rapidly coming to an end, and let me tell you, the internet has been a truly bizarre and eccentric landscape to bear witness to this year. From accusations of a former partner chomping on limbs like The Walking Dead, to the aftermath unfolding of someone making a video comparing disenfranchised minority communities to the cannibals in The Hills Have Eyes, to say it's been a wild ride seems like just a bit of an understatement.
She's kind of an up-and-coming YouTuber.
Kinetic Kel?
Kinetic Kel. Why, you know her?
If we've had an overabundance of anything this year, it's niche online occurrences that seem to get stranger and more contentious by the day. So buckle up, because today we're going to be diving into the most absurd online controversies of 2024 so far. Bear with me, I'm moving, that's why I'm in my car. I'm also going to do my best to balance making this video enjoyable for those who might not be as chronically online as me, while avoiding overly familiar talking points for those who might already be acquainted with the situations we're going to cover. We kicked off 2024 with maybe one of the craziest falls from grace ever. Let's talk about Mamamax. Mamamax is a YouTuber whose bio humbly boasts the self-characterization of a filmmaker dedicated to empowering children. He began his YouTube journey by lamenting about ordinary annoyances that burden all of us, from mosquitoes to employment, exhibiting his tendency to feel especially sorry for himself. Later, after a brief stint reviewing anime porn, hey, we all gotta go through our throw shit at the wall and see what sticks era, right? He shifted his focus towards identifying and exposing society's most reviled criminals.
How you doing? All right, how you have a seat over in that chair, please.
Pedophiles, which of course led to the success that Max had been chasing for years. As his channel grew, Max produced a wide variety of overly dramatic videos exhibiting his in-depth investigations.
Or press 1 for more options.
Hello, Pablo Sonny. I know this video is about to end your whole fucking life.
Acting as a self-appointed digital Chris Hansen of sorts, including one that even led to an arrest. So what the hell happened? Well, in late January of this year, YEEHAW of SomeOrdinaryGamers put forth a jaw-dropping expose in which he provided extensive evidence that Max had been mixing fact with fiction the entire time.
Today's video is the most serious I might have made in my entire career on this platform. It's a video I don't want to make because it's personally so uncomfortable. It's a video about someone I, and many in the community, considered a friend. Today, I personally don't consider this person a friend. I consider them a liar, both professionally and on a personal level regarding very personal things.
Mamamax clearly got confident that people were buying what he was selling, which ultimately became his unraveling, as the final story that he pitched that had everyone questioning his authenticity involved a vampire werewolf cult. Furthermore, he had lied about that arrest that had aided his credibility for years.
Okay, so you want to enact this change. What do you hope is the eventual result of your video?
Okay.
Of all this.
So I know there's people out there saying I'm doing it to self-serve. I just want my video back up. I don't give a shit if my video comes back up. It did what it needed to do. The rapist that was in the video is currently in police custody. And
was that as a result of your video, or was
Yes.
that prior to the video?
Yes, it was because
Okay.
of the video.
All
The
right.
video was about IMVU and this one predator. I made it about him and him alone.
IMVU is a game, right? You
Yes.
played the game and you exposed this guy.
Yes.
Do you mind walking me through the chain of events that led from your video to him being imprisoned?
Yeah, so I dropped the video. The end of the video is a call to action. Usually all my videos are a call to action, like find him. And we did.
So in this case, find him meant like you didn't know who he was. You wanted his doc so he could go to jail.
All we had was his face and his voice.
Right.
And out of that, I said, find him. And then within 24 hours, we found him. And then I started social engineering all of his friends to give me his information. And they did. And then we pegged him. He fled to Mexico. We found where he was in Mexico.
Wow.
I don't know if the police, he was from Canada. So I don't know if the police asked him to come back.
As all terrible people are.
Mhm. I don't know if the police asked him to come back or he went on his own volition or they forced him to come back. I don't know any of those details. I just know he went back to Canada and was in police custody for a certain amount of time.
Try to contact Global News to catch Zach is my Vancouver news station. Thank you, Angela. I think he's in the Philippines.
What about my case has you super focused on it?
Oh, what about your case?
Yeah.
I'm so sick of having predators that run away like Pablo Sonny and we don't get them. I am investing all of me into you and the survivor, Spencer, because I will not stop until we see justice.
rendering him a complete fraud. Here's a contextual clip from Nick Diorio's video that outlines the situation better than I can. Honestly, it's a long story.
Okay, a few months ago, the YouTuber named Mamamax asked me to react to his content and promote the massive investigation he was about to release. Max Striker claimed to be exposing a depraved individual who used social media to lure society's most vulnerable into compromising situations. Cameron Gerard Davis has been accused of masquerading as mythical creatures such as werewolves and vampires in the hopes to lure children, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, is what I would have said if Max's videos on the subject weren't terrible.
Now, naturally, the internet erupted with anger, and his fall from grace was swift and absolute. It goes without saying, but role-playing as a hero in some incredibly serious situations is a very weird and exploitative thing to do. In what felt like the blink of an eye, Mamamax's integrity disintegrated, and his fans had to grapple with the fact that this vigilante hero that they had looked up to for years was nothing more than a not-so-carefully crafted facade. What a way to kick off 2024, right? Speaking of skeletons in the closet getting unveiled, let's move on to the allegations that the streamer Shubble put forth against Wilbur Soot. Shubble is not in the general sphere of content I consume. Her primary platform is Twitch from what I understand, leaving me with limited knowledge to her endeavors as a creator prior to this incident, but honestly, context is not that important. Earlier this year in a stream, Shubble disclosed that throughout the duration of their relationship, the musician and YouTuber Wilbur Soot had been biting her with progressively less and less chill, like gnawing on her arm in front of people like a dog.
He had this habit of biting, which is so weird to me now.
What the fuck, dude? This guy's Minecraft Mike Tyson. Come on, bro. No, he's teething. You don't get it.
He said that he had this habit since he was a kid, and even his
dude, he's a vampire. He's Camden Gerard Davis.
His mom said that that was true, and he said it was just affection.
Speaking of controversies that left me speechless, Bosch is a very unlikable political streamer. He was a Destiny orbiter. He prides himself on logical fallacies and contrarian arguments, and that's really all of an introduction I have for him. This little freak in February was streaming and accidentally exposed a folder labeled "to sort" of downloaded pornography that contained... I literally don't know how to say this. It contained horse porn and something called lolicon, which Wikipedia let me know. It's a genre of fictional media which focuses on young or young-looking girls in provocative positions. Gross. Gross! Bosch responded to the controversy around the child horse drawings by addressing it within the context of discussions about legality, morality, and consent in media. He argued that while some art can be deeply problematic, we should focus on broader societal issues, basically a whole lot of cope. Veto. Thus, Bosch permanently cemented his status as a weirdo, which, let's be honest, it was just confirming a lot of people's suspicions. There's absolutely no reason to be making arguments like this.
It is possible for an adult and a child to have a sexual relationship, and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well.
Speaking of arguments that had no business being made, let's move on to Impra of Shadows. I'm gonna let Chris the Narc tell you about this one.
My name's Chris. I run a drama streaming channel that is so cringe to say called Chris the Narc. And you guys could always check it out. Make sure you subscribe to Kel here. Oh, Zane, my favorite. So, Impra of Shadows from the cursory look that I took a look at his channel before everything went off. Horror movie review channel. If you don't know, there's like a bunch of different ways of people doing media analysis on YouTube. So there are people that'll do media analysis of cartoons, horror movies, action movies, or you got guys like EFAP that do all of it, but they just shit on all content that is bad, which I kind of respect. Impra of Shadows was that kind of guy, but he had a twist that the others didn't, and he put everything into a leftist ideal standpoint. So if somebody likes guns, they're a fascist bootlicker that loves to see people die. But that's what he did in the video. Like he slandered a bunch of people saying stuff like that. So the thing that got him essentially to make this video are two things. One of them is Wendigoon followed him on Twitter and he thought it was a threat. And the other one was his video about The Hills Have Eyes. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie before. So the movie in of itself is about a family that gets trapped in the middle of the desert. And this family is attacked by, and I'm not kidding when I say this, they get attacked by a incestuous, inbred, rapist, murder cult of people. And they're just trying to find their dog. So Impra of Shadows in his video tried to essentially ascribe those people to being like the victims of white America. And we're like, oh, you know, these can be a stand-in for Native Americans or minority groups or poor people. Essentially, that's what caused his first initial downfall, is like all of his subscribers are like, what the hell are you talking about? You're saying that inbred hick rednecks are black people? Like, what is wrong with you? Or Native American people? He proceeded to double down. He was specific with it. He didn't just say marginalized. He was like, you could stand these in for poor people or Native American people or black people. He said those words. And I sat there dumbfounded when I heard it the first time. I was like, what? It's a movie about rednecks trying to murder a family. Like, what are you talking about? That video went up. He lost a bunch of his subscriber base because he started arguing with them, saying, you're all a bunch of, like, I assume he was like, all of you are a bunch of racist chud, right-wingers, all this stuff, right? Which is a problem with these leftist creators. The minute they get shit, they start blaming the audience as a whole, and they lose a lot of people. His viewership was skyrocketing during COVID, right? And as you know, with COVID, everyone went back to work. So his viewership went down again. And he's like, I'm not making any money. It takes 3 months to make videos. So of course he's not making money. And he proceeds to blame all of that on the Hills Have Eyes video instead of introspectively looking on himself, right? So this is how it starts. This is like the build up to this video that he put out now called Bad Conservative Horror Movies. Unfortunately, I on a live stream watched it for 3.5 hours. The first part is about a convention, a small horror convention in this small town. Next chapter is about him talking about his channel, the thing we were talking about earlier, bringing up comments and being like, none of these people actually watched the video, you're all a bunch of Nazis, like basically going on that rant. The third chapter was about a movie director saying he didn't care about COVID and tried to ascribe him to be some sort of right-winger because he went on the Ben Shapiro podcast. A bunch of people go on Ben Shapiro. That doesn't mean that he wants his workers to die due to COVID. He said the director probably doesn't care about his workers and wants the product out, which how can you ascribe that to be the thing, right? Then the fourth chapter is the Wendigoon one, and this is where everyone takes significant issue with his video. It's important to build this up because the video in itself is so schizophrenically put together. First, it's about a convention. Then it's about his own video about how bad his analysis of the Hills Have Eyes was. Then it became some sort of AI argument over scene transitions and a director going on Ben Shapiro. Now we're a Wendigoon. He opens the video with essentially saying that there's like a danger to the horror community and he cares about horror. And then proceeds to call Wendigoon a guy who started a extremist radical group called the Boogaloo Boys. He proceeds to say that Wendigoon is, throughout the video, a danger to the public and should not be allowed in public places. Those are the exact words that come out of his mouth. He starts slandering other YouTubers like Donut Operator, Shoe on Head, Brandon Buckingham, Mudahar, and I think a couple of others. Brennan Herrera. Brennan Herrera is a right-winger, but like who? So there's a lot of things in that, but the Wendigoon segment's important because the whole reason he slandered those others creators is because Wendigoon follows them on Twitter. There's no real criticism outside of that. He tried to say Shoe on Head was masquerading as a leftist because of a tweet of her just laughing at the leftist movement, saying like Karl Marx will rise out of the grave and see that his movement was taken over by blue hair freaks. And that's like his proof that she is like a Nazi conservative or something. It just keeps getting worse. We're not even to the Brandon Buckingham part, so I'll save that one for last because that's the most egregious. So with Mudahar, if you don't know anything about the Keffals drama, which I really doubt you do.
Keffals is a trans creator that stole $100,000 via GoFundMe and calls anyone who tries to criticize her transphobic.
You are aware that Keffals stole $100,000, and Mudahar put out a video talking about her involvement in a DIY HRT directory that was not suitable by doctors. Normally, I don't really care if somebody's going to transition or not, right? But this company that she was promoting was essentially like bathtub version of the actual drug. The packaging had lolicon on it,
which Wikipedia let me know. It's a genre of fictional media which focuses on young or young-looking girls in provocative positions. Gross.
Like little kids in like skimpy outfits. So Muda puts together a very comprehensive video about it, and he gets a thumbnail artist called Just a Worm. Just a Worm draws people ugly. You can go through all the, because he had to delete his account because Keffals and a bunch of leftists like started flagging him and trying to dox him and shit. He he makes everyone ugly. He made artwork of Keffals ugly because Mutahar liked the art. Keffals and others called him transphobic for the art, just because they drew Keffals ugly. So apparently that somehow means transphobia. And Zane, Impra of Shadows, used that as a talking point, but doesn't go into depth into Muta's video, just the thumbnail. So slanders Mutahar is transphobic. Last one, and this is the one that's gonna kind of like blow your mind a little bit. I assume you know who Sneeko is, right? Welcome to the drama cycle where there's more rabbit holes that all somehow interconnect with each other. So Sneeko and Brandon Buckingham had a beef. I want to say it was about 2 years ago. Because Brandon like called him out for being like a fake or being pro Andrew Tate or whatever, right? Brandon and him are in this argument, and Brandon says, me and my boys are gonna run a train on your girl, because Sneeko was saying fucked up shit, right? So it was shit talk back and forth. Sneeko's known as a cuck, actually. I think that was the joke, is that Sneeko literally did an interview where he talked about his girlfriend like getting fucked, and like another guy was like inside her while he was on top of her. It was weird. So Brandon makes a joke about that. He's like, bro, we'll run a train on your girl, bet she'll like it, right? Sneeko went public and said Brandon Buckingham threatened to rape my girlfriend, which is not true. In any context that you frame the run a train thing is not a rape threat. Impra of Shadows, in his video, calls not only Brandon Buckingham a crazed gun YouTuber, which isn't true. He also said that he has rape allegations against him, or like a potential rapist or something like that. So he essentially parrots the talking point of Sneeko, not knowing who Sneeko is, and that it's a lie what Sneeko said. That's essentially the main crux of it. He also said every white person in Appalachia you have to assume is racist. The Boogaloo Boys thing, the hate group that Wendigoon founded, wasn't true either. Yes, he founded a meme page, but once it started to get radical, he walked away and disavowed it. And then he kept saying, oh, but he's still cool with them because he wears Hawaiian shirts. So that means Wendigoon is still pro this group. It's ridiculous. His cope was, oh, I don't really know like how to express myself, and I just pick things up and then drop them immediately. That's cope. Yeah, I'm always open to take criticism, but proceeds to make a 3-hour video. An hour of 30 of that is all talking about the comments that he got about, and I'm not kidding, about the Hills Have Eye video. And you sit down and you're like, wait a minute, you did 3 whole hours, scripted, edited, you put nice visuals in there, you got background for everything, you got lighting for everything, but you didn't script out the section exposing Wendigoon and friends in the most, in my opinion, malicious and disingenuous way possible.
Oh Lord have mercy. Caitibugz is a creator who, according to Famous Birthdays, got her start on TikTok and Twitch, which makes more sense than anything else in this story. She started posting here on YouTube with the most boring, uninspired content you can imagine, from room tours to vlogs.
Nothing is the words come rolling to my knees. What a place to be.
You know, peak, low effort, 2012 content, just way too many years late. Although, I don't know if I can say anything as someone who had this haircut until like 2017. Redditor Lalabellum made a very clear and concise summary on the r/dream was taken to subreddit regarding the fake allegations that Caitibugz put forth against George Not Found. That subsequently ruined her credibility. They wrote, so, last year, Caiti and George met at VidCon Anaheim. Took place from June 21st to the 24th. The first night there, they got drunk, but nothing happened. On the second night, according to George, Caiti and her friends asked to come over to play another drinking game. She was 18 at the time, freshly 18.
Claims when she was freshly 18, George, being a much older man, took advantage of her when she was vulnerable and drunk.
Although Lalabellum notates, had been 18 for months already, seeing that her birthday's in January, so if anyone tells you freshly 18, don't listen to them. But George didn't know about that because some of her friends had a 21 plus wristband on, and they were already drunk when they showed up, so he thought they were of drinking age as well. After both of them were drunk, still on the second night, they ended up cuddling on the couch for about an hour. This is a detail that Caitibugz left out of her initial statement. Somewhere along the way, George put his hand around her waist. His hand eventually found itself under her shirt, slowly moving up, but no groping of any sort happened. After the party, they went together to the elevator, George because his room was on the floors below, and Caiti because her room was on that floor but on the other side of the corridor, past the elevator. He made a joke, she said no, they parted ways. For months after that, they texted each other. He eventually found out she was actually 18 to 19, so kinda ghosted her. And last week, Caiti made a VOD in which she pretty much accused George of essaying her. The internet, in parentheses, Twitter, was on her side, sending death threats and other horrible things to George. George made his first tweet and said no active essay happened. Caiti replied by saying he could say whatever he wanted to, but she had proof showing he was guilty, which she hasn't yet showed to this day. George made his first response video telling his side of the story and poked holes in Caiti's original statements. Caiti made another tweet explaining the new information George provided to the public and promised to make a final statement soon. In parentheses, we're still waiting for said statement. That statement did not, in fact, vindicate her.
This is point numero uno. This is not, oh guys, final statement. Did I mention he grabbed my tit? Get the fuck out of here. This is insane.
On a couch with other people there.
Dude, how did no one on the couch go, hey bro, you grabbed her tit? Apparently there's 15 witnesses here who watched this guy grab a tit after cuddling for an hour, which still, mind you.
Stuck his hand up my shirt, under my bra, and felt up, fondled, whatever you want to say.
Fondled. This guy is fucking slapping them like we're doing the fucking UFC. We got the way that Mike Tyson is training for his fight with Jake Paul. He's fucking swirling his fists in a fucking circular motion, just slapping them.
George made a second tweet saying that her response gave him some more thought about the situation. Big mistake on George's part, and that he would make another video soon. Yesterday, he made a second video providing even more information, and it appears that George is indeed not guilty of essaying anyone, and the whole thing was just a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Caitibug's inability to stick to her story, as well as a variety of other inconsistencies, gradually unwove her not so carefully crafted narrative, leaving only one question that we'll probably never get the answer to. Why did she lie? There you have it, just a glimpse into the insanity that this year has thrown our way so far. From the fall of Mamamax to Bosch's infamous folder to the bite marks left from Wilbur Soot, it's clear to me that this year is destined to be defined by its absurdity. Another huge thank you to my guest Chris the Narc for his contribution. I immensely appreciate his insight. Make sure to check out his channel, which is of course linked below with all of my sources. If you enjoyed this exploration, make sure to subscribe. Leave a like if you liked it, leave a dislike if you disliked it. If I omitted any major situations, make sure to leave them in the comments below. What do you think was the most bizarre moment of the year so far?